Hi, this is ChristyL Blue, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the energies that are affecting us on Earth, and I'm doing so in relation to the refilming of the Earth Magic reading number 2. I've actually filmed this reading twice, and both times it hasn't worked. I also had recording problems on my cell phone, so I could not get a good recording either. So I've gone through this about 3 times total, and for some reason, it just was not the right time for me to deliver the message until now. So I'm going to try. This is actually going to be a test, and if it does work, I'll go ahead and use the information as part of the Earth Magic reading number 2. So I apologize if it sounds less professional, or looks less professional. It's later in the evening, and it's a Saturday evening at home too, and we're relaxing and getting ready for the full moon in Libra on the 28th, which is tomorrow. So we do have Earth Day coming up. I believe it's on the 22nd again this year. But when I do the full moon reading, I've selected a number of decks to do a full moon Libra reading. So I'll get into that a little bit more, as well as the eclipse season that's coming up. But I wanted to read. I took notes from Pam Gregory's most recent post about the full moon energy and full moon in Libra. So it's really important because if you notice, I mean, there are many leaders um, in our world that are Libran, but they're operating in the shadows and of what they could truly be and what they could truly be as leaders for this world and in this world. But too many of them have decided to be um, full of themselves and hedonists and anarchists and I mean, I could think of all these different descriptions of them, but I'm not here to put them down. I'm just stating what most of us can see if we're paying attention. And that's why these earth magic readings are very important, because their decisions over decades and decades, under the table, behind closed doors, using our tax dollars, not only nationally in America, in the United States of America, but also globally, to do really underhanded, nasty things to undermine society and life as we love it and know it, is evil. And it's not just operating in the shadows, in my opinion. It's also the intent to not grow and be a responsible human being on our planet while they're expecting everybody else, excuse me, while they're expecting everybody else to toe the line and, try to raise their families in the middle of all of the BS that they've created essentially and engineered. So I worked around it. I was picking up on it more and more as an environmental scientist, and I started calling it out more, and the more that I did so, the more I found that I was in danger. So I basically had to leave the industry that I worked in, the water industry in California, and choose to do other things because it was too dangerous on the inside. And I found that out the hard way, through difficult situations that were forced upon me. So anyhow, I speak from experience on several different levels, but I do think it's interesting to note at this full moon in Libra that many of the bad actors that are making these dangerous decisions and coming after science and scientists like myself, they're operating in the shadows. They're not operating from a place of goodness and light. And so this is why I wanted to highlight some of the things that Pam Gregory talked about for the full supermoon in Libra. And she says the sun has moved into Aries, which is the first sign of the astrological year, which we know, if any of you pay attention to astrology, you know that Aries is like the baby, the youngest and the newest of the 12 in the zodiac. So technically we just had a happy new year on March 20th at 2:38 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10:38 UK time. Pam says that there's this big surge of energy that is coalescing along with other waves of energy that I talk about on Twitter. I talk about it in relation to some icons of, riding the wave and keeping ahead of the evil curve and keeping ahead of the ocean waves behind, keeping them behind you so you can stay up, and stay moving forward. So, but there are several factors that are coming into play at this time, and I know I feel it because I'm having to take some naps, which I usually don't take naps, but I've had to the past week in particular, which directly coincides with the 20th to the 27th time period that I'm addressing right now for March 2021. So the big surge of energy that she was mentioning initially in her full supermoon in Libra reading, or presentation I should say, has to do with the December 21st, 2020 Saturn-Jupiter shift, and that was at the winter solstice. And that shift has placed us into, that happened in the constellation of Aquarius. And so Aquarius is an air sign, as is Libra, and so is Gemini, and Libra is also a cardinal sign. So, cardinal signs are, there's one for each group, one for fire, one for air, one for water, and one for earth. And so the cardinal sign for the air sign is Libra. So she ends up talking about leadership and talking about being a warrior for the good, not the bad, being a warrior for the earth, for love, for children, for our planet, for Gaia, for the Gaia spirit. And I talk about Gaia a lot because I intrinsically know and feel that energy as a scientist, and that has helped educate me even before anybody was really talking about this on YouTube. And I'm not saying that to upstage anyone or anything. It's just as a scientist, I've been able to read the environment pretty accurately for quite a while. Let me grab a drink of tea real quick. And so we're almost at 10 minutes here. I'm going to just read this briefly, and then I'm going to stop and see if it recorded. But this is what Pam said. A big surge of energy at the December 21st, 2020 winter solstice at the Saturn-Jupiter great shift into an air paradigm, which we're in now. It's a paradigm shift on Earth, and it's in the air sign. of Aquarius. So it's interesting that this Libra full moon is a super full moon, and there are 3 others that are going to be happening in succession after this Libra supermoon. They call it the full worm moon, because that's when the worm castings are showing in the soil to prepare us for spring and for new growth. So she talks about the ancient people, they're more in tune with the earth. They weren't bombing the earth. They weren't, well, I mean, some of them were. I mean, there's historical information which I won't get into now, because it's late. But we do know that there were battles, many eons ago, that we don't know. They weren't actually fought on magic carpets. I'll just leave it at that. But Pam goes on to say there are immense new waves of gamma ray neutrinos that are coming onto the earth, photonic gamma ray neutrinos. Now, I studied neutrinos and different astronomical effects and bodies, I want to say astral bodies, but astronomical bodies. Years ago when I worked for NASA, I worked at NASA for a private contractor, and I was taking a lot of science classes back then at the University of Maryland. So I understand what she is saying, but you can look up what neutrinos are on your own time and understand that these waves of energy are coming onto Earth as we're also moving through these into Aquarius, the constellation of Aquarius, and Aries factors in at this new astrological year that started on 20 March 2021 at 2:38 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So, keeping that in mind, she also wants us to understand, as I have been teaching, how important this information is and these waves of energy are to upgrade our bodies. And as I've explained it, we are shifting. We are not just shifting, we're evolving on the inside. And we're evolving from carbon to crystalline. And as you understand how crystals work, which I'm going to be teaching more about, you'll understand how crystals absorb the light and are able to help us heal inside and outside on our planet. And there are huge crystals inside of our Earth. So Pam talks about cracks in the Earth's magnetic field. And so that's important too, because if you can envision huge crystals that are, men look this big in relation to crystals that are, this big. So if you have a little man standing here and you have tall crystals going this way and that way, beneath the Earth's surface, you'll get an idea of just what's going on in our Earth's magnetic field and why certain entities are so fixated on changing our atmosphere and blocking the light, because there's a lot of light coming onto the Earth to help us out of this funk and the control that we're under. So the control is draconian, it's otherworldly, as well as very dangerous. And some people talk about it being reptilian. I mean, there's too much of information to go into here, but I've tweeted it extensively about this, and you can read more about different aspects of that thought process if you find Carl Sagan's books, the dragons of Eden and the demon haunted world, Science as a Candle in the Dark. Read those two books, Dragons of Eden, the demon haunted world dash Science as a Candle in the Dark. That's what I'm being guided to do, is to shine the light on this from my perspective with my background and experience, and then also what I experienced having these types of beings bother me in my career field and in my life, and harm my animals and my child and everything. So it is happening, and they are not of the light. So Pam goes on to talk about these energy waves, just as I do in different kind of unique ways on Twitter and on my website, sciencespiritualityuniversity.com, and that's universe and city together. Science, Spirituality, Universe, City.com. So as our bodies are being upgraded, and as the Earth moves through this photon belt that she says is happening every 12,000 years, we are under significant changes on our planet to help us evolve out of this darkness. And she refers to roryduff.com, RORYDUFF.com, who's a geobiologist and a master dowser. And he also correlates this back to the ancient people who knew of these important shifts around the equinox and solstice periods. So that's 4 times a year that these waves of energy are also helping us. So there's a number of things happening up in space and then also on our planet to shift our energy and to help us evolve into better human beings, a newer, I don't want to say a newer version, but that's what it is. It's a newer version of mankind, since the current version is failing in so many ways. So Pam goes on to talk about peaks and troughs and these surges of energy as we crest at the Aries equinox into the next month, April 20th. And then she talks about the next wave of changes in these troughs and crests is the May-June 2021 eclipses. So, as I said at the beginning of this particular video, I'll talk about the eclipses more in my next readings, and I just wanted to focus on the energy going on our planet, and as we move through this photon belt, and as this new astrological year at the spring equinox, all things are coming together to really help us on our planet and help our planet. So she also, which I think is really cool because I didn't know this when I named my website sciencespiritualityuniversity.com, but she's saying that not only are we upgrading our bodies toward being more light beings on Earth, but they are consciousness upgrades, which I've been teaching about on my website, because it just goes together. The more enlightened you are, the more conscious you are. You are of consciousness. You're not, the Walking Dead, or, your heart is not cold. You are evolving and evolving with other species on the planet, not trying to annihilate them. So she goes on to say that the science of energy and spirituality are also merging as all of this transpires. all these energies, energy inputs, if you will. And she was saying that the 21st of December 2020 and 20 March 2021 spring equinox are two major surges, and we're riding this crest. So keep riding the crest on your quest, and also understand that the mutable signs at 28 degrees and the cardinal signs at 2 degrees, if you have planets or angles at the 28 degrees in the mutable signs, which is like, for me, like Gemini is my mutable sign. So it's also impacting me there too as a communicator, because 28 degrees factors into my Libra sun, which is at 29 degrees Libra. And so I can see where on many different ways how this particular surge of energy is also helping me as a light worker and also making me tired. So the cardinal signs, as I mentioned, are Libra. See if I can remember them. Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. Let's see, what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. I'm a little sleepy, but the cardinal signs are about leadership, and for each of the different, so Libra is representative of air sign, right? So Libra is the cardinal sign, air sign, and Cancer is representative of, I keep thinking in tarot terms lately, it's kind of funny, but Cancer is, water, emotions, cups, but it's the leader of the water signs. It's the cardinal sign of the water signs. So we have a new moon in Cancer coming up right after this full moon in Libra. So you're going to see how the Libra cardinal sign and the Cancer cardinal sign are tight. They're actually tightly aspected, in my opinion. And I'm not an astrologer, but I do have planets in Libra and Gemini. And let's see. I'm just trying to think of the other sign, but I guess I'll just leave it for now. So the basic issue here is with the issues in your life, or the main issue in your life, ask yourself, are you the leader of your life, or are people leading you by the nose or telling you what to do so that you compromise your authentic self and your authentic purpose for being here on this planet? So that's, to me, the most important issue, because if you can't lead yourself, you're going to compromise your family. And I've seen that happen in my own family, where I had to really take the bull by the horns, because I had people in my life that were supposed leaders, but they were kowtowing and bowing to these dark entities on our planet and those running our government. And I'm like, hell no, I have free will. I'm not going that direction. And so, that's where I had to be my own warrior. So stand up for yourself, stand up for love and light, as Pam says and reminds us, and I'm reminding you to stand up for the earth. And as you do that, you'll find yourself resonating more strongly with earth, and you will find the protection that you need from the angels, and especially Archangel Michael. You must ask him for help. He will help you, as will the other archangels and your ancestors. You call on them and ask them for help. There are spirit guides just waiting for you to ask for help. And I know that too, because when I was under the gun, I had definitely had ancestors helping me, and Archangel Michael was around me all the time. And that helped me be able to focus a little more each day on why it was happening and what my true purpose is here on this planet. So with that, I'm going to stop this recording. I hope that it recorded, and I hope you enjoy the message. And I'm very thankful Pam Gregory comes on and helps guide us with all of her astrological information, because it's still confusing to me. I understand it intuitively, but she's very articulate with how she explains it. So the next video will be the Earth Magic cards, and this is for my second Earth Magic reading. Okay, and these cards are by Stephen D. Farmer, and Spirit is helping us find our enchanted map to our true happiness. So these Earth Magic readings, in my opinion, are going to be important for everybody at some point, and it's just a matter of time before people catch on that they need this type of guidance more and more as life as we know it falls away. It'll be like you walking over a bridge, actually over a river of troubled waters, and looking behind you and seeing that bridge fall down. And that's what I've been seeing too. So, and I've found also along the way that I've had specific spirit guides helping me understand why why I was going through these things for such a long time, and why it was so intense. And so I encourage you to pay attention to signs around you, even smells, like I was smelling a cigar smoke in my house in California when I was under siege, and didn't quite understand all the inner workings of what I was seeing happen before my eyes. But that cigar smoke was Winston Churchill. And I was writing my book at the time, and I was on a specific chapter writing, and writing about some travel that I did in Europe. So I know that's, at first I didn't know what the cigar smell was from, but I was doing a lot of automatic writing and a lot of I was getting so many downloads and so much information back then. And so it's no wonder that my book was blocked from being published by 2014, late 2014, early 2015. So with that, I'll be back to talk about the Earth Magic Oracle cards that I pulled. And I pulled them around I'm trying to think. I pulled them about 3 weeks ago or so. And like I said, I kept trying to film them, and it just wasn't working. We've also gone through a really difficult Mercury retrograde, so I'm sure that had everything to do with it. And I broke that rule and had to buy a new computer at the time, so that's another reason why I think we've had some problems getting the camera to pick up the audio. So hopefully I got it this time. And if not, I'll just keep trying. Namaste.